Hello everyone, welcome to Inconvenient Truths by Jennifer Zeng. On September the 8th, when more than 27 million people have been infected by COVID-19 or the CCP virus, and nearly 900,000 people killed by it, and when the pandemic is far from being controlled and is still spreading and killing people in many countries, the Chinese Communist Party, the CCP, which is responsible for the spread of the virus, was celebrating its victory over the pandemic and giving awards to their national heroes and role models who are addressed as COVID-19 fighters. Why would the CCP hold such a ceremony without considering how those who are affected or who have lost their loved ones would feel about their celebration? Why can the pandemic be a victory for the CCP? What is the real death toll in China? Today, let's discuss these issues. The grand ceremony was held at the Great Hall of the People in Beijing with a lot of fanfare. The national people's heroes were escorted to the venue by beautifully looking, fully dressed up soldiers and greeted by red carpet and top CCP leaders. Some 3,000 people attended the grand celebration. About 1,500 individuals, 500 organizations or teams, 200 CCP members, and 150 CCP branches all received awards, while 4 individuals were given the highest civilian award, the Medal of the Republic, and honored as national people's heroes. And the 4 national heroes are Zhong Nanshan, Zhang Boli, Zhang Dingyu, and Chen Wei. Many people who have been following the CCP virus pandemic might be very familiar with Dr. Zhong Nanshan. He is a famed expert who was chosen by the CCP to announce that the CCP virus was transmittable from human to human on January 2020 this year. He led a group of medics to join the CCP while fighting at the front line on March the 2nd and vowed that he would dedicate the rest of his entire life to the CCP. On February 27th, he made a statement that, quote, "The pandemic first appeared in China, but that doesn't mean that the virus originated in China," unquote. He also declared that the pandemic might be over in April. His statement about the virus not necessarily originating in China gave the CCP spokesman Zhao Lijian some theoretical foundation to claim in May that, quote, "It might be the US Army who brought the pandemic to Wuhan," unquote. Dr. Zhang Boli is a Chinese medicine physician. He is a member of the CCP's Central Steering Expert Group and led 209 doctors to work at one of the so-called Fangchang hospitals in Wuhan in February. There were videos about these Fangchang hospitals showing that the condition of them was very poor and patients complaining that they hadn't seen a doctor in 3 days. One video shows patients and doctors forming a CCP branch inside a Fangchang hospital and pledged their loyalty to the party. We can also see a photo of Dr. Zhang Boli in front of a CCP flag in a report about him. So, he is also a CCP medical expert. Another national hero is Zhang Dingyu, the vice director of the Health Commission of Hubei province, where the pandemic started. Wuhan is the capital city of Hubei province. If you have watched my series of the comprehensive timeline of the CCP's cover-up of the COVID-19 pandemic, you will know that the Health Commission of Hubei province released a lot of false information about the pandemic, such as the disease was not transmittable. It also asked the gene sequencing company not to test samples of COVID-19 patients on January the 1st. So we can say that this hero has done a very good job in helping the CCP cover up the pandemic. The fourth hero is Chen Wei. She is a general in the CCP's Army, People's Liberation Army, and a researcher and doctoral supervisor at the Academy of Military Medical Sciences. She was sent to Wuhan on January 26 as the head of the military expert team to study the virus and to develop a vaccine. People have questioned why military experts were sent to Wuhan when Wuhan has its own virology institute, and this institute is considered the best in China. Anyway, Chen Wei claimed that the recombinant COVID-19 vaccine was successfully developed by her team as early as February 26.
我们研究的重组新冠疫苗在2月26号，我们第一批疫苗在生产线上下线了，也就我们有了正式的这个疫苗。
Many people and experts have questioned how Chen Wei's team could develop a recombinant vaccine in only 1 month, as normally 5 months would be needed to develop such a vaccine. If she could produce it in February, it means they already had the virus strain as early as last September. This again brings up the question about the origin of the virus. I am not an expert in this area, so I will leave this question open here. If you know better about the timing of vaccine development, please leave a comment below and let us know whether it is possible to develop a recombinant vaccine in such a short time. Anyway, the vaccine issue is a very important one for the CCP and is also the reason why Chen Wei won her national hero title. I will discuss this issue later. It was reported that Chen Wei's vaccine was approved for clinic use on March 16th. On April 12th, it entered the phase 2 clinic trials, and on August 11th, it gained the national invention patent. Next, let's discuss why the CCP held such a grand ceremony at such a time. Reason 1. The CCP is in desperate need to turn this page, to end this episode of their drama so that nobody will talk about holding it accountable for the spread of the pandemic, the human life and economic losses both inside and outside of China. Reason 2. Xi Jinping needs a victory to suppress dissenting voices within the party. I've talked about CCP's internal power struggle in my previous shows. Even members of the so-called second generation rate of the CCP are publicly criticizing Xi Jinping for his mishandling of many things. Furthermore, in October this year, the CCP will hold its 5th plenary session of the 19th Central Committee. Many important issues will be decided at this session, including the CCP's 14th five-year plan, whether Xi Jinping is going to appoint a successor, and who enter the power center of the 20th Central Committee of the CCP, etc. The CCP holds a national congress every 5 years to decide who is going to be the next head of the party. The importance is like the election in the US, although it is not an election. Xi Jinping changed China's constitution in 2018 to abolish term limits for the president, giving him the ability to stay in power forever. However, talks about getting rid of him to save the party have been passed around for quite a while now. So Xi Jinping desperately needed something to show that he is still in absolute control of everything and that he was the one who had the ability to lead China to overcome a challenge as huge as the COVID-19 pandemic. So he must stay in power forever. For anyone with a normal mentality, it's very hard to declare victory over a human tragedy that has taken more than 900,000 human lives. We can only mourn for the losses and reflect on how we can avoid such human tragedy in the future. However, for the CCP, it could be a victory for the following reasons. Reason 1, the CCP doesn't care about human life, so the loss of human lives is nothing for it. On the contrary, the pandemic can be turned into a tool for the CCP to seek hegemony in the world. Before the pandemic reached other countries, the CCP mobilized its global networks of overseas organizations and overseas Chinese people to buy up all the masks and other personal protective equipment of other countries and send them back to China. And after the pandemic reached other countries, and when those countries were suffering badly from it, the CCP used its medical supplies, such as masks, to force other countries to listen to its orders. For example, the CCP asked France to use Huawei equipment to build a 5G network in exchange for 1 billion masks. So medical supplies can be weaponized and give the CCP more power. Reason 2, another benefit for the CCP is that it can use the vaccine as another weapon to seek hegemony. Chen Wei has openly declared that, quote, the vaccine is an ultimate weapon, unquote. Let's listen to her own speech. By the way, this speech was part of the CCP TV program, the first class of the new school year, and was broadcast on September the 2nd by the CCP's most important mouthpiece, Central China Television.
那疫苗就是一个终极的一个武器。我们是一个军队的团队，习主席一声号令，我们解放军驰援武汉。 我就是其中的一员。
So the CCP's plan is, if they can have a vaccine earlier than other countries, they will have an ultimate weapon in their hands. In this sense, this pandemic is, of course, a victory for them. Is it really a victory? How many people have died in China due to the CCP virus? Since I've been sharing heavily all sorts of first-hand information from China about the pandemic as soon as this thing started in Wuhan, before many people realized what a big issue this could be. Some people once called me the #1 journalist on the coronavirus, and I was often asked to give out my own estimation about how many Chinese people really died. As far as I'm concerned, perhaps the closest estimation can come from the decrease of cell phone users in China. I might be the first or one of the first people to share about this issue back in March. Basically, I checked the data of all the 3 major mobile phone carriers in China. I even managed to obtain an internal table of China Mobile from a source in China who has access to this kind of data as he works in this industry. I put all the numbers together and concluded that 3 major mobile phone carriers in China lost 21.5 million users in the first 2 months of 2020. Many mainstream media later also reported the huge loss of mobile phone users. I guess everyone has read those stories. The reason for the losses can be 1. The users have died. 2. Some users have more than one SIM card before the pandemic and have cancelled the extra card or cards afterwards since they couldn't afford multiple cards anymore. The issue is not that many people own more than one SIM card or more than one cell phone in China. The CCP's Premier Li Keqiang openly admitted that as many as 600 million people have an income of less than 1,000 yuan or $144 per month. These people definitely cannot afford to have more than one SIM card, right? China has 1.4 billion people, so 600 million is almost half of the population. As the cell phone has become such an important item for almost everybody, especially for people in China, it's the last thing people will discard, even during hard times. Say, people usually have 3 meals per day. If they don't have enough money, they may still manage to survive with only 2 meals. However, life can become almost impossible without a phone, as you need to stay in touch with family and friends, get important news updates and information, pay your bill, buy everyday stuff, etc. So, even if we adopt a very conservative assumption and assume that half of the cell phone user decrease was the result of people canceling their extra cards or phones, the net loss number is still as huge as 10 million. Is this number too big to hide? Probably not. About 35 to 45 million people starved to death during Chinese Great Famine from 1959 to 1961. As many as 20 million could have died during China's Cultural Revolution from 1966 to 1976. Did people of the world feel and know about the losses then? Did the people inside China know about the huge number then? Do the majority of Chinese people today know about and feel anything about the huge numbers now? No, they didn't. No, they don't. History often repeats itself with some sort of slight or perhaps bigger changes, but some people always fail to learn the lesson. If anybody or the CCP has a better explanation for the cell phone user losses, please share it with the world, and I'm willing to listen. That's all for today. Thank you for watching. Truth, no matter how inconvenient it is, does save lives. So please subscribe to my channel and check out my other videos. Thank you. See you next time.